All right, good morning, everybody. This is the Fantasy Sports Boss with another fantasy football podcast, another drive time podcast. I got a lot on my mind I wanted to share with you today, and obviously the biggest story still remains about Jonathan Taylor, the Indianapolis Colts running back, who has formally requested a trade, and things are just getting downright ugly there. Which I'm going to get into. But, of course, as I always say at the start of these shows, if you're not a subscriber, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also hit the notification and the like button so you're made aware whenever new podcasts are added, whenever live shows or live streams, I should say, are posted, and all that other good stuff. So let's get to the Jonathan Taylor situation. So things have gone from bad to worse. So we already detailed yesterday about how Taylor has requested a trade, not happy with his contract, certainly not happy with the crazy statements that have been put out by Jim Irsay, the owner of the team. No need to reiterate that. But now we have a situation where Irsay and the team have brought up a supposed conversation where Taylor reported that he had some sort of injury. I guess it was some sort of a back problem, and that the Colts are now using that as a means to put him, to designate him, basically that he's he's physically unable to play. And so what this will do is basically kick the can down the road, keep this last year of his contract, for another year. So it would go into 2024. So Taylor, instead of being a free agent at the end of this season, would be a free agent at the end of 2024. It just unilaterally takes this last year of his contract and pushes it forward to 2024 while he's on this list because of this so-called injury. Well, Taylor quickly shot back this morning, challenging every part of that statement by the Colts. And now really what this does more than anything is there's no coming back from this. So the Jonathan Taylor is either going to be sitting out the entire season because he's going to be put on this list by the team, which is a very vindictive move. It just appears very petty by the Colts to do this. And it's very unbecoming of Jim Irsay to say some of these things that he's been saying. Now, at the same time, Jonathan Taylor, this is the situation. Forcing a team to trade you, they don't have to trade you. All right, playing devil's advocate. The Colts don't have to do anything. Would it behoove them? Of course. You don't want to have a disgruntled player on your team, especially with a rookie quarterback in Anthony Richardson, who certainly could use the help, Taylor's help as a veteran, to take the pressure off of him. But the Colts are under no obligation to do anything. And that's where this thing is now at an impasse. And Taylor wants a new contract. But based on what we saw this entire offseason with Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs and even Tony Pollard, and Austin Eckler, too, who requested a trade. And Eckler, who's a more well-rounded player than Taylor is, was given permission by the Chargers. They said, listen, Eckler asked for a trade. They said, listen, go look for one. They gave him permission to do so. And nothing, there was no bites, nothing. So that shows you a guy coming off 2 dominant seasons, touchdowns all over the place, over 100 catches last year. Nobody bit in terms of trading for Austin Eckler. So the same thing is probably going to be in play for Jonathan Taylor. Now, unlike Eckler, Taylor is coming off an injury. He had a severe foot, ankle injury last year. It was repaired. There were, reports that he was still feeling some sort of residual pain over, coming into the summer. Not sure what to believe anymore now when it comes to these reports, as both sides are kind of greasing the wheel, if you will. So, it's hard to tell which side to believe on this whole thing. But the fact of the matter is, if Austin Eckler could not find a team to trade for him, then Jonathan Taylor is not either. And Jonathan Taylor is not going to get that contract, especially coming off what is considered a down year. He went bust. Right there as the biggest bust in fantasy football last year. Now, I know he got injured. And I know the offensive line was terrible, and Matt Ryan, was just beyond hideous. Taking no pressure off of Taylor, resulting in stacked boxes along the defensive line. It was bad, no matter how you slice it. But now, there just doesn't seem to be an end game here in terms of where this is going to go. Where is Taylor going to get a new contract? He's not going to get a new contract. So that's the issue right there. He's not going to get a new contract from the team. And also today, how about this? Zach Moss, who would be the next man up, he broke his arm today. I believe it was a broken arm. He broke something today. He's out for 6 weeks. I literally just saw that as I came on. So Zach Moss, who, was just all right filling in for Taylor at the end of last season, he's out for 6 weeks. So that brings you right up to the start of the season. So listen, don't be surprised if by the end of the day or maybe by tomorrow, Leonard Fournette is an Indianapolis Colt. And let me tell you something. If Leonard Fournette signs with Indy, or even Ezekiel Elliott for that matter, all of a sudden they're looking at a decent workload on a Jonathan Taylor-less team. They're looking at a decent opportunity, both catching and running the football. If there is no Jonathan Taylor on a team that's going to want to run the football to relieve pressure on Anthony Richardson, it would be an opportunity. We all know Leonard Fournette could still catch the football. If he ends up in Indy, now he's going to have a quarterback that's not going to want to throw the ball much to him because he's a running quarterback. But can Fournette squeak out another running back 2 season just on volume alone? He can. Here's the thing, too, about Fournette. And it just goes to show you, volume is king. Last season, Jamal Williams scored 17 touchdowns on the ground. 17. Insane numbers. Leonard Fournette outscored Jamal Williams in PPR leagues. Why? Because he caught a ridiculous amount of passes. So, while Jamal Williams scored all those touchdowns, Leonard Fournette caught 1 million passes. He ran pretty well. And he scored more points than Jamal Williams. So again, it shows you that touches, workload is king in fantasy football. So like I said, there's going to be a move made. The Colts have to do something. They're going to have to bring in Kareem Hunt, Ezekiel Elliott, or Leonard Fournette. One of these guys. Sorry about that, guys. Lunatics on the road. One of these guys are going to have to be brought in. One of these guys will have to be brought in by the team to stem the tide and also maybe to take a shot across the bow at Jonathan Taylor. Let him see, okay, we're signing somebody else. This is just an ugly situation all around. There is no other way to sugarcoat this. It's that bad. It is that bad. And there's leagues that are already starting up. Drafts that are already happening. And we don't know the situation with Jonathan Taylor. If you have a draft next week or in the next 2 or 3 weeks, what do you do with Jonathan Taylor? Now, for me, you avoid him completely. There is no way in hell I would even think about drafting him with this uncertainty. But if he drops to the 5th, 6th, 7th round, somebody's going to bite. So, again, and with Josh Jacobs still holding out, you are looking at 2 prime bell cow backs who are all of a sudden may not even start week 1. And this pushes up the value of the Christian McCaffreys, of the Austin Ecklers, of the Saquon Barkleys. All right? All of these guys. All of these guys see a major spike in upside, in value, supply and demand. Now, it's not going to get me to change my stance in terms of how I'm drafting. It's still all wide receivers. And in that league I was telling you about, where I have the second pick in the draft, I'm going to get Jefferson or Chase, as long as Joe Burrow checks out okay. I could conceivably start that draft with Jefferson, Jalen Waddle, and Chris Olave. That would be a hell of a start. And I'd be down with that. And then in round 4 and 5, I can take a running back, whatever best running backs are left. Jahmyr Gibbs, hopefully Aaron Jones. There's going to be guys there, good values there. There's no running back dead zone this year. I've said this a million times. There's no running back dead zone this year. So, the video I posted the other day about the quarterbacks and the tight ends got a lot of attention, generated some decent discussion. And I have to admit, as somebody who is a very big Travis Kelce booster, it was eye-opening in the sense that, and it's right in front of us, most leagues need one quarterback and one tight end. 2 to 3 receivers. I play in 3 receiver leagues. 2 running backs and a flex. So you need 6 spots among receiver and, as long as you don't have the super flex, you need 6 spots among receiver and running back to be filled. So you could get by with a Geno Smith, who is a quarterback 15 right now. You could get by with a Pat Freiermuth, who is a tight end 9 or a tight end 8. And stock up on receiver, on running back. And it makes sense too, think about it. It's much easier to replace a quarterback on a bye week, right? A quarterback has a bye, you can find a decent streamer. In a 12-team league, there's 12 starters. But finding bye-week running backs, bye-week wide receivers, making up injuries at wide receiver, at running back, much more difficult. You have to go really deep into the well. If you're looking to pick up receivers and backs that are on the waiver wire, they're on the waiver wire for a reason. Geno Smith was on waiver wires last season to begin the year. Daniel Jones was barely drafted. Both of these guys finished as top 12 quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins, always a perennial, borderline starter. He finished top 12. There were Justin Fields, late middle round pick, finished top 6 or top 5, I believe. I think he was 4th. And I said this the other day. I believe it was 5 of the top 12 quarterbacks were drafted either very late or not drafted at all. Trevor Lawrence, top 12 quarterback, was drafted, late middle rounds, just like Justin Fields. So you can replace these guys. You could start with a Geno Smith and Daniel Jones as a combo, or Deshaun Watson and Deshaun Watson, Geno Smith, whatever. So I'm starting to shift my focus on having my 2 running backs, my flex, and my 3 receiver spots all filled up before I look at quarterback and tight end. So, and I can even go even deeper than that. I could probably go 7 deep, have a top backup, or a good backup. Not, 7th round pick is not going to be a top backup, but a good backup. You can get Rashad White in round 7. If he's your backup running back, your 3rd running back, great. And still pivot back to Geno Smith in the middle late rounds. Tight end Pat Freiermuth, I believe he's going in round 9. Or round 8 even. I'm fine taking him in round 8. Lots of targets around the red zone. And that's another thing too, guys. I've been open about wanting to construct a team with more touchdowns this season. Red zone, goal line targets, that's a big stat that you have to look at. Who's getting those targets around the goal line, around the red zone? Who's due for positive touchdown regression this season? There's a number of candidates. DK Metcalf right at the top. DK Metcalf led the NFL in targets in the end zone. And he was underwhelming in the touchdown department. Very fluky. He's due for positive regression. Deontay Johnson His expected touchdown, I believe, score was 7 last year. He got none. Deontay Johnson is a tremendous middle round pick. Looking at positive touchdown regression. All right? There are guys like George Kittle is going to go the other way. He had an outlier 11 touchdowns last year. He's going to come back to the mean. That's why I don't like him even beyond the fact that he's injury prone. Doesn't stay on the field. Is in a loaded offense with a lot of quality targets. That's a really important stat to look at. Guys who have positive touchdown regression, guys who have negative touchdown regressions. Hell, even look at Justin Jefferson. I think he was number 2 behind Metcalf in the targets in the end zone. He should be catching more touchdowns. So if you have the number 1 pick, Justin Jefferson still makes a very, very good investment. He would be the guy I would go to. With Joe Burrow, not being totally healthy, I think that Jamar Chase is a guy I would be a little bit leery about drafting now because of Burrow's injury. So, again, these are all things that we're going to have to pivot to and think about as we go forward. And listen, do the mock drafts. I always stress this to the nth degree. Do as many mock drafts as you can. Now, I know Fantasy Pros has that software where you could just plug in whatever your league settings are, and you don't have to do a mock draft with 11 other people. It's all computer generated. I don't really like that. I want to know, because that's just computer generated. I really want to see what the consensus thinking is of people who are actually doing the mock draft. So I prefer to do a regular mock draft. I know it takes some time, but try out all the approaches. Try drafting Kelsey in round 1, see how it goes, see how the team looks. Try drafting Jalen Hurts in round 2, see how it goes, and then you just fine tune it from there. And listen, I am as tempted as anybody to take Jalen Hurts in the beginning of round 3 or the end of round 2. And that's generally where he's been going. Josh Allen, same thing. But if you look at the efficiency of that pick, yes, quarterbacks are the highest scoring players. No doubt about it. But the quantity of wide receiver running back is more important. And much, much more harder to replace. If you lose your starting quarterback, you could find a Geno Smith off the waiver wire and do very well. Or Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields last season. If you lose your starting running back, the handcuff not nearly as good. The depth is not nearly as good. Wide receiver, much, much more difficult even than running back to find somebody off the waiver wire that's going to be able to help consistently. So that's how you have to look at it. So for me, it's all about, and like I said, I have the number 2 pick in that one league. I'm starting to daydream about getting Jefferson, Waddle in round 2 and Olave in round 3. Based on their current ADPs, that's where it could work out to. And I haven't been very bullish on Waddle, even though he was a yardage fiend last season, just because I just don't want to be attached to the fragile Tua Tagovailoa. But, listen, Mike White is a decent backup. He showed during his time with the Jets when he got on the field that he could throw the football fairly well. And he could put up points. I mean, he went nuclear against the Bengals a couple of years ago. He's got ability. He's a solid backup. Certainly trust him better than anybody that the Dolphins trotted out last season in place of Tagovailoa. So I'm a little bit more comfortable with Mike White as the backup. Because let's face it, Tua's going to get hurt. He always does. That's his MO. And the next concussion could be the next one. The one that puts him out. So, that's something we have to think about. So we got to see how this all plays out. But, like I said, I've really been fine-tuning my mock drafts. staying on top of all the injuries. And that was the other thing. I forgot to mention this. So the Seattle Seahawks, it didn't take long for chaos among this backfield. So this is another situation now that we're going to have to worry about. Kenneth Walker has a groin injury. Zach Charbonnet, the rookie, has a much more serious shoulder issue. And Pete Carroll, who spoke at the media yesterday, said Charbonnet is going to be out longer. So now this prospective battle between the two of them is not going to be a thing now. So Kenneth Walker, if we don't know the severity of the shoulder injury for the rookie, as far as Walker, he's going to miss some time. It doesn't seem like it's going to be that big a deal, according to what Carroll was saying. But two things here. One is that Walker then, at this point, would have more leash as a starter. But at the same time, too, it reaffirms that Walker is incredibly injury prone. He's an electric runner. There's no doubt about it. He reminds me of Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is probably the greatest pure runner in football right now. It has been for years, over 5 yards per carry. That's the hollowed stat. If you average over 5 per carry, you really are a hell of a runner. And Chubb does it every year. Kenneth Walker is that kind of guy, but like Chubb, doesn't catch passes. And he's more injury prone than Chubb. He got dinged up last year, got dinged up in college, and now he's already dinged up with a groin injury. But if the rookie from UCLA is out for a long time, then Walker, just has DJ Dallas, who nobody is afraid of. And Walker can be bumped up a little bit at among the running back rankings. But again, this position is fraught with chaos. And another reason why you don't draft these running backs early, because they always get hurt. There's so many more injuries at this position. The Jets are going to sign Dalvin Cook because they're not fully trusting of Breece Hall's recovery right now. Javonte Williams coming back from a very serious knee injury, but they signed Samaje Perine. So it just goes to show you. And Aaron Rodgers, they haven't made it official yet. I'm shocked it hasn't happened by now, but Aaron Rodgers, restructured his contract to free up money to sign Cook. And Rodgers is doing the right thing. I know he's always dealing with his self-centered nonsense. But at least with the Jets, he's doing and saying the right things. He's going to Ranger games, Knick games, during the spring, and he's putting himself out there, and he's showed up at minicamp. He's been a leader. All the positives among the media here have been praising him up and down, being a mentor to Zach Wilson and helping out Garrett Wilson unleash his full potential. So he's doing the right things. And now, redoing his deal to free up the money to sign Dalvin Cook. This team is loaded. And I said that all last season. Anybody who heard me last season, you heard me say the Jets were a quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contender. They have everything. The offensive rookie of the year. The defensive rookie of the year. They have the best defensive tackle in football in Keenan Williams. They have the best cornerback in football in Sauce Gardner. They have two explosive offensive second-year players now, Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. The offensive line is a concern. Okay, there's no doubt about it. That offensive line is a concern. Mekhi Becton already hobbled. Elijah Vera Tucker very solid at guard. That offensive line could be the Jets' undoing if they're not careful. With an aging quarterback, it could stunt the running game, not allow Rodgers to throw deep to Garrett Wilson. But this team is loaded. And this pains me to say as a Giants fan. I'm a huge Giants fan. Always have been. It's been rough for the Giants, the last 10 years. And now we got Brian Daboll, looks like the right guy to lead this team. But the Jets are absolutely on the cusp. Now they're in a really tough conference. Cincinnati, Buffalo, Kansas City, the big three are still there. Right at the top of their games. Young quarterbacks. they're going to be there for a long time. Rodgers is, he's staying for 2 years unless, if the Jets win it this year, maybe he walks off into the sunset. But it seems like he wants to play at least 2 more years. He redid the deal, as basically said as much. But this team is ready to rock and roll. And they got Buffalo during the, for the opener. Even if they lose that game, as long as they're competitive. If they put up 7 points, then the same old Jets, right? But if they win that game, we got something really, really significant brewing here. And the Bills are beatable. Stephon Diggs with his own self-centered nonsense and the conjuring up Terrell Owens' memories of the diva receiver. Seems like things are smoothed over now. They got Dalton Kincaid, who really looks like he's going to be the slot guy from the beginning. The team has tried to temper the expectations on him a little bit. But, they made some good moves at running back. I think bringing in Damian Harris was a good thing for them offensively. It could take away some Josh Allen touchdown runs, though, because now they have that big bruising back, and they brought in Latavius Murray as well, who's also capable of helping there, getting a big back around the goal line. But, they're going to be tough. The Chiefs they're the Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champs. I know they lost a lot of receiver again, but there's young players there, and Sky Moore and Rashee Rice, and listen, Richie James, Justin Ross. They got some guys. Any one of those 4 guys could step up. I'm still betting on Richie James. That's a guy who I like as the best value. So we just got to see how it all breaks out there. All right, anyway, guys, hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button. More videos on the way later on today. Hopefully we get some more information on this Jonathan Taylor situation. We need clarity on him and Josh Jacobs before drafts in August, because most people draft in August. Hopefully we start getting some answers soon, and we also get these guys like the Kareem Hunts and the Ezekiel Elliott's and the Leonard Fournettes to sign on their team, so then we could, correctly evaluate the running backs that they're going to be on the compliments to on their new clubs with their new organizations. All right, guys, we'll see you later.